Yo guys! This is what if Naruto and Team 7 went back in time to train early. They've gone back to the past. They've gone too far back into the past, and they just don't want to wait around years and years, so they figured they might as well start early. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 1, Team Tensei. His first genin team. Or at least the first one that he was going to be testing to see if they would actually be genin. Sarutobi-sama had insisted that he start testing genin. The teacher at the academy had told him that the students were already at training ground 7, so he made his way there, wondering exactly what kind of children he would be testing. It was simple enough for him to think up a test for the wannabe team. It'd be the same test that his Jounin sensei had given his team. Hiding up in the trees surrounding the training area, he watched for the students. All he could see were 3 6-year-olds playing in the dirt. Actually playing in the dirt, with rocks and everything. He could clearly see that the child with black hair was an Uchiha, the red and white fan on the back of his shirt a dead giveaway. The girl child had amazingly fluffy pink hair, and the last child was dressed in practically rags, his blonde mop of hair fly away and dirty. There was no one else in the area. Hopping down from the tree, 19-year-old Kakashi Hatake walked sedately towards them. Yo! They barely looked up at him before going back to their game. He was a little annoyed at being so easily dismissed, but figured that the children were spawn of ninja and wouldn't really be wary of someone with a Konoha headband and Jounin vest. What are you kids doing here? Waitin'. The Uchiha mumbled, pulling a rock from the blonde's hands. Who are you waiting for? Teacher. The pink fluffball frowned and gave the Uchiha a rock. The blonde groaned and took a rock back from the Uchiha. Are. His bottom lip wobbled and his voice was despondent. Kakashi grinned under his mask. Why you so mean? Sorry too. The pinkette grinned at the blonde and the Uchiha smirked, which was decidedly cute on his 6-year-old face. So, Kakashi flopped onto the ground next to the Uchiha, watching the little game, becoming fascinated as the rocks exchanged hands quickly. There were a total of 21 rocks that the kids were passing between themselves, and to Kakashi's surprise, he started to see a pattern, a strategy to what they were doing. What's the name of the game? The blonde scoffed and looked at him. Kakashi hid his shock as seeing the 6 whisker marks on his face. This was the boy with the 9 tails sealed in him. Pass the rock. Incredulous, Kakashi bit his lip to contain his laughter. Pass the rock? Is not a game. The Uchiha boy scowled fiercely when Pinkette took one of Blondie's rocks and Blondie took one of his. He paused for a moment, then gave a rock to Pinkette, who scowled back at him as she handed a rock to Blondie. How do you play? Kakashi was intrigued. He'd never seen a game that involved rocks and passing them back and forth, and even after watching for a bit he didn't understand what they were trying to accomplish or the rules they were using, but there was definitely strategy involved. 2. Pinkette shrieked suddenly, throwing her hands into the air and flopping onto her back in a huff. Do you always gotta win? Is just good at it. Naruto, because it was most definitely Naruto Uzumaki who was the blonde of the group, took all 8 of Pinkette's rocks and held out his hand towards the Uchiha, who was scowling as hard as possible for a 6-year-old. The Uchiha growled in the back of his throat and handed over his 4 rocks. We'll play game, right? The Uchiha poked Naruto in the knee and Naruto nodded contentedly as he counted the rocks. Hey! Naruto snapped his very blue eyes up at Kakashi. You stealed one o' my rocks. Kakashi's visible eye snapped open and he stared at the blonde kid. I didn't. You did. Pose ta have 2-1. Naruto hoarded the rocks close to his chest and stared at Kakashi with anger and hurt in his eyes. Is only having 2-0. The other kids may have not given you one of their rocks. Kakashi did indeed have the missing rock, but messing with easily manipulated children was always fun. Are and know the rules. They don't not gimme my rocks. To Kakashi's bemusement, both the Uchiha boy and Pinkette stood up, not that they were very much taller when they were standing, and glared at him, hands on hips. Give to back the rock. The Uchiha hissed. It was surprising to see an Uchiha get so defensive for someone else. I don't have it. Kakashi raised his hands, indicating innocence. Or that his hands were weapon-free, but that was more of a ninja thing. Besides, it was just a rock. The kids could grab another one, a much nicer one in his opinion, from the stream that was only 10 meters away. Don't lie! Pinkette literally screamed at Kakashi, and he was so stunned at her shrill voice and absolute fury that he barely dodged out of the way when she leapt at him. He was distracted by the Uchiha flaring his chakra and substituted himself with a log just in time for a kunai with a live blade to slam into it. Kakashi couldn't believe that the kid had live weapons. Who the hell gave a 6-year-old live blades? Then again, the kid was an Uchiha. Something hit Kakashi's knees and the teenager staggered forward a step, looking down to see Naruto holding tight to his legs. "Gimme my rock!" Slipping out of the blonde's grip, Kakashi sidestepped Pinkette, who had thrown herself at him again, only to have her move into his dodge and sideswipe his hip, her short hair puffing up even more than it already was with what Kakashi assumed was anger. Fire! Phoenix Immortal! From where the Uchiha was standing came several small balls of fire that Kakashi couldn't dodge completely, though he managed to get his arms up to cover his face. He was completely flabbergasted that a 6-year-old, even an Uchiha 6-year-old, managed to correctly do a C-rank ninja technique. What was even better, or maybe worse, Kakashi couldn't decide, was that he'd done the technique with the shortest release phrase Kakashi had ever heard. A sudden pain in his foot flooded over the burn pains on his arms, made Kakashi look down to see that Pinkette had driven the kunai the Uchiha had originally thrown into his foot. And she hadn't just cut skin, she'd driven the blade to the hilt, right through his foot and into his sandal. Pinkette growled at him and yanked the kunai back out of his foot, and Kakashi hopped away only to trip backwards over Naruto, who'd been waiting behind him. The Uchiha leapt from his position, catching Kakashi around the neck on his way down, refusing to let go even with Kakashi pulling at his arms. Tiny hands scrabbled at Kakashi's pockets and then, within seconds, all 3 of the kids backed off. Kakashi leaned up, resting on his elbow, stunned at the fierceness of the 3 over such a little thing as a rock of all things, and glanced down to his foot to see that it was bleeding sluggishly. He turned his gaze back to the children when they started talking. Here too, Pinkette handed Naruto the rock that had at one point been in Kakashi's pocket, and Naruto beamed at her. The Uchiha took the kunai that was offered back to him, and cleaned it off with his shirt. "You get them?" The Uchiha quirked an eyebrow at Naruto and the boy grinned, the whisker marks on his face crinkling. "Absolutely." Naruto pulled something out of his pockets and handed one to each of the other children. They turned as one to Kakashi and presented a united front. "I am Sasuke Uchiha." The Uchiha boy sketched a short bow and showed that he held a small silver bell in his hand. "I am Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto saluted a textbook-perfect salute to Kakashi. "I am Sakura Haruno." Pinkette curtsied like a well-trained court lady, also showing off a small silver bell in her hand. Naruto stepped forward, standing the middle, Sasuke to his right, Sakura to his left. "We are your genin team. We graduated young and Sarutobi-sama decided that we should all be on the same team. For irony's sake, I believe that he gave our team to you." With a snort, Sasuke rolled his eyes. "Team Tensai, my lily-white ass." "Oh, shut it, Sasuke." Sakura walked around Naruto and knelt at Kakashi's feet. "I have training as a medic, Hataki-san. Please allow me to heal your injuries." Without another word, her hands glowed with a familiar green light, and the pain from his burns on his arms dulled before going away completely. She hovered over his foot for a few seconds longer, then leaned back, letting her hands fall gracefully into her lap. "There we go. As good as new." "Wait," Kakashi sat up all the way, staring at the kids. "You're the team that I'm supposed to be testing?" They were all of 6, for God's sake. They had managed to take him down, though not for long and through surprise, but they'd still managed it. He knew that if the fight had gone on any longer he would have recovered fairly easy and taken control. It was how very childish the children had been acting before attacking him that had let them gain the element of surprise. Surprise was always an effective ninja tool. "Yes, sir." Naruto pulled Sakura behind him protectively at Kakashi's tone, probably worried about the Jounin's temper at being tricked by young children. He was obviously ready to take anything on himself, including punishment, that Kakashi was prepared to throw at all of them for any reason he might have. The boy was used to punishment, and it showed in his actions. And that thing, with the rocks, Kakashi couldn't help but chuckle. That was to put me off guard so I wouldn't see you as anything but children. Young, untrained children just out in the sun, having fun. Kakashi shook his head. Even during the fight I thought it was only the rock that you wanted. Correct, sir. Sasuke nudged Naruto in the back. Okay, not all of it. Pass the Rock is actually a game that we've been playing for a while and the rocks that we use are important. How did you know what kind of test I'd be giving you? Considering that Kakashi had never tested Genin wannabe before, he was curious as to how they knew what he'd use as his test. One of my cousins was on your team, Hataki-san, the Uchiha boy spoke up. When I found out that I would be tested by you, I asked Obito's parents if they knew what kind of test you may give us. I was told your team was given a bell test that had been passed from the first Hokage all the way down to the fourth. I was reasonably sure that you would give the same test. Sasuke nodded to Sakura. Sakura was able to confirm that you had bells on you when you first sidestepped her lunge and signaled us. We then commenced with the rest of the plan. Getting to his feet, Kakashi nodded, impressed with the children. Deeply impressed. He looked directly at Naruto. So, you're good at gathering information, deception. He looked to Sakura, medical techniques. He looked at Sasuke last, ninjutsu, and you obviously passed all the academy tests. How did you decide who got the bells? Genin are put in teams of 3. Your test was set up to create dissension between the ranks and depended on teamwork. Naruto smiled, just a bit sadly. I determined that if that was not the case, if any of us should be sent back to the academy, it should be me. I am, after all, me. There wasn't anything Kakashi could say about that in front of the other 2 children, so he resolved to talk to Naruto about it later, when they were alone. Alright, Kakashi grinned at the children and his visible eye curved up. The title that Sarutobi had given the team earlier was just too good to pass up. You pass. Congratulations, Team Tensai. Chapter 2, Uchiha Clan. Mother, Sasuke called out as he entered the house. I brought my Genin team to be introduced to the family. Oh, Mikoto Uchiha exited the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Hello, dears, she trailed off when she caught sight of the 2 other children with her son. Are you all 6? She asked her son, a little confused. When Itachi had been put on a Genin team, both of his teammates had been 12-year-olds. Nah, the blonde boy scrubbed his hand through his messy hair. I'm 7. I'm older than Kubai about. He paused and looked up at her for the first time. 10 months. He had whisker marks on his cheeks. The container of the 9 tails. Her precocious 6-year-old son was on the same team as the 9 tails container. She wasn't even sure what to think about that. When the 9-tailed demon fox had attacked Konoha and the 4th Hokage had died, almost every single clan in Konoha had made sure that there was an heir born within a year. Those clans who had heirs for their families already had not wasted any time having another child, like the Inuzuka and the Uchiha clans. It was fresh on their minds that anyone, at any time, could die. Why the child looked as young, or maybe even a little younger, than Sasuke was a mystery. Mikoto didn't like mysteries. Neither did Itachi. Otuto. Aniki. It had only been a year ago that Sasuke had stopped calling Itachi and Ai and Nitama. That had been when he'd asked to go to the academy. That had been when Fugaku Uchiha realized that he had a second son that wasn't just a spare, but a brilliant child. Smarter even than the Uchiha genius. Not only had Sasuke proven to be smarter than his, at the time, 10-year-old brother, which was a feat that most adults couldn't claim, Sasuke had proven to be even more Uchiha. It was clan pride that had kept that a secret until it had been unavoidable that others found out. Sasuke Uchiha had activated his Sharingan at the age of 5. Even Itachi had been 8 when he'd activated his Sharingan. Hello, the small girl with short pink hair stepped forward. I'm Sakura Haruno and I'm 6. I'm on Sasuke-kun's team and I specialize in medical ninjutsu and genjutsu. I was offered a place in the Ninja Academy last year and graduated with Sasuke-kun and Naruto-kun. Kakashi-sensei passed our team this morning and I won't ever let Sasuke-kun die of anything but old age. Naruto Uzumaki shrugged one shoulder, picking at the edge of his thin black t-shirt that was about 2 sizes too large for him. I'm a pariah and live in an apartment by myself. I specialize in wind ninjutsu and sealing. Sarutobi-san enrolled me into the academy last year after I asked him to let me go. Sasuke is my best friend. Mikoto inwardly cursed her soft maternal heart, as it broke just a little for the boy. I would like my teammates to stay for supper, mother, if you don't mind their inclusion. You should ask your father. Mikoto wasn't going to be the one to get in shit from Fugaku for letting the Nine Tails container eat at the Uchiha table. I will do it. Itachi turned to the front door, but Sasuke blocked him before he got there. They are my guests, Aniki. Let me take responsibility for them. Sasuke gave his older brother a tiny nod and vanished in a small burst of wind, using the Chunin skill body flicker to vanish from the entryway. That rat bastard, Uzumaki growled under his breath, and Mikoto rounded on him, ready to give the urchin a fairly large piece of her mind for insulting her son, only for him to continue before she could. It's been over a year. You'd think that he'd gotten used to it by now. The Haruno child shook her head and patted Uzumaki's shoulder in something that resembled empathy. You've never got over it either. If he were still around, do you really think that even after a year of exposure you'd been able to get over it? Yeah, okay, you're right. Sorry, R.A.chan, Uzumaki sighed. I'm just glad that he's dead and I won't ever meet him again. I guess 'cause not doing too bad. Mikoto stared at the boy. She'd never heard an accent like the one that he had just displayed, and yet not minutes earlier he had spoken like a clan member with clean grammar and enunciation. Are you from a ninja family as well, Sakura-chan? Mikoto asked as she ushered the two children past her eldest son and into the living room. Sakura sat daintily on the couch, and Uzumaki fell into a sprawl on the floor. Itachi hovered at the edge of the room. No, Uchiha-san, Sakura ducked her head. My parents are civilians. My father works at a machining shop and mother is a librarian. Before Mikoto had time to ask the girl another question, not wanting to hear about the Nine Tails container, Uzumaki spoke up. Ain't got a mom or dad. Irika-sensei likes me though. He smiled and Mikoto's living room seemed to be a bit brighter than before. That's nice, Naruto. She almost stumbled over his name. It would be unfailingly rude for her to address Sakura by her first name, and not the Uzumaki. Uchihas were never rude. Yeah, Iriko buy me food. He goes out and gets groceries for me. And he buys me ramen. Uzumaki's eyes brightened considerably, and Mikoto had to look away at the pure joy for something so simple. Doesn't he also let you crash at his place when the villagers trash your apartment? Sakura asked. That's where you went last Thursday, right? Yeah, Ka-sensei set up an extra futon for me in his room. He's real cool. Uzumaki rolled onto his back and stared at the ceiling. He let me use the washing machine too. You don't usually have access to a washing machine, Naruto-kun? If Itachi's facial muscles had been given regular exercise over the course of his so far short life, he would have frowned. Even in an apartment building there were washing facilities that would accept clothes from anyone with money. Nah, Uzumaki shook his head. Last time I got my clothes washed, they all came back with holes and shit. I use the sink in the kitchen now. Mikoto worried her bottom lip. Naruto, how often does your apartment get ransacked? It was understandable that no one like the boy the nine-tailed fox was sealed in, but to actually attack him or destroy his possessions was a little out of control for most ninja. About twice a year, Uzumaki shrugged, not even looking at her. I put up traps and stuff, but I can't use ninjaniques because it's the civvies that are trashing my place, not ninja. There was a flicker of chakra and Sasuke appeared in the entrance. Father said yes. That was both a surprise and not. Fugaku was just as aware, more so even, than Mikoto of clan reputation, and it was far worse for a clan member to allow one person to stay for dinner and refuse the other, even if it was Uzumaki, than to refuse a request from a new genin to have his teammates for supper. Konoha was all about the teamwork. Is there anything special that you'd like for dinner, Sasuke-kun? Mikoto asked her son, wondering absently why Sasuke was so insistent, and it was insistence that he was showing by going so far as to ask for Konoha's pariah to dine with the family, about having Uzumaki at the house. It was possible that the Hatake was the reason. Hatake was well known to the Uchiha clan and despised for it. As the only non-Uchiha to have the Sharingan transplanted into him, as the only non-clan member to have a dojutsu transplanted, it silently proved to the clan council that the Hyuga were correct in utilizing the caged bird seal. The Uchiha were not about to be forcing their members into servitude, though. They had far too much of that from Konoha proper. To further cage most of the Uchiha would be detrimental to the clan and to the village. Living in the Uchiha compound was not the wish of all the Uchiha after all. It was an unspoken rule that users of a dojutsu were confined to one place to make the other people of the village feel safer, less vulnerable. He would like something with tomatoes. Uzumaki's inflection and accent were once again perfect. Sakura-chan prefers to eat salads, but we are working on that. Children as young as we are should not be restraining ourselves from food. Uzumaki eyeballed the kunoichi in a serious manner. Sakura blushed and looked down to her hands in her lap. What do you like, Naruto? Itachi spoke up from his corner and Uzumaki shrugged, completely nonchalant. I don't have a preference. Because you don't eat well, Naruto. Sasuke gripped the boy's shoulder tightly. Uzumaki glanced up at the younger boy and smiled. Naruto will have mostly vegetables with well-done yakitori. He needs the vitamins and minerals. Alright, Naruto sighed. Do I really have to eat the meat? Really? Sasuke was practically hissing out his words, his anger like a knife to the throat. The meat that our family obtains from the markets is not rotten or spoiled, Naruto. It will taste good and will be good for you. Hey! Naruto scowled. It's not like I go out and purposely find the most spoiled cut to buy. Sakura joined the boys on the floor, her large green eyes sad. We know, too. We know. Chapter 3, Yumino Foundation. Iruka Yumino was a nice person. Even though he was a 16-year-old shunin who'd only just started teaching at the academy a year earlier, he was trusted with pretty much everything to do with the students. He also drew children to him like the Pied Piper did, only without the need of music. The first time that he met Naruto Uzumaki a year ago, the 6-year-old boy was lounging on the steps of the school with 2 children his age. Iruka quickly found out that the trio of genius were good friends. Uchihas never went to bat for anyone other than family, but the Uchiha boy in Naruto's little group beat the ever-living crap out of an 11-year-old early genin graduate that afternoon for throwing mud at the container. Not that the mud had actually hit Naruto. No, the boy was far too fast for that. Iruka-sensei? Even though the blonde had graduated with his 2 friends just a week earlier, Naruto still came around the school at the end of the day to walk Iruka home, like he needed protecting. Ah, Naruto-kun. How was your day? As nice as Iruka was, he was even smarter. He'd heard the wishes of the 4th Hokage, he'd heard the explanation of the ceiling. He knew that Naruto was the one keeping Konoha safe, not a reborn nine-tailed demon fox in human form. Was good! Naruto exclaimed as he clasped their hands together. Iruka slung his satchel over his shoulder and off they went toward Iruka's house. Kaka-sensei was pretty surprised to see Sasuke and me sparring on the water, and Sakura was balancing a leaf over her nose, standing off to the side of the water so she didn't get hit with nothing. He said we was doing good. That's excellent, Naruto-kun. Iruka squeezed Naruto's hand gently and Naruto squeezed back. And I heard that you had dinner with Sasuke-kun's family last week. How did that go? Oh man! Naruto practically jumped 3 feet in the air. He was so excited. Man, oh man! Mikoto-sama made this yakiniku. I think it was pork. It was so good. I've ne'er had such good food before. He stopped jumping and looked up at Iruka through his eyelashes, continuing in a more guarded tone. I mean, you always feed me good and I love eating at your place. But Mikoto-sama is really awesome. Iruka laughed gaily, just a little intimidated and a lot sad that Naruto thought his cooking was good. He made a mean instant ramen, sure, but he was better at cooking over an open fire than with a stove. Naruto's preference just highlighted how bad his life really was. Naruto may have meant to be comforting with his words, but the reality was there in the background every time he opened his mouth. It's okay, Naruto. Iruka pulled Naruto into a quick, tight hug and ruffled his hair before taking the boy's hand again and continuing their journey. Did you have fun? Iruka asked a moment later. Well, still a bit subdued. Naruto shrugged one shoulder. Sasuke and Sakura were there, which was awesome, and Mikoto-sama is totally cool and Tachi-san is kinda. Ka-sensei? Yes, Naruto? Naruto looked up at Iruka with wide eyes and a completely serious expression on his face. When zombies get resurrected, they don't got emotions, right? 'Cause I heard zombies had no emotions, and Tachi-san is kinda emotionless, so I was wondering. Is Tachi-san a zombie? The complete seriousness that Naruto's face held was far too much for Irika, and the teenager broke down laughing so hard he fell to his knees, satchel landing beside him, a worried Naruto in his face. Ka-sensei? You okay? What's so funny? The panic in Naruto's face convinced Irika that it would be bad for the child to see his beloved Ka-sensei keel over from laughter. No, Naruto, I'm fine, it's okay. Irika breathed deeply to contain his mirth. I found something you said funny, that's all. What's so funny about Tachi-san being a zombie? Naruto stood back and crossed his arms over his chest defiantly. I've seen zombies before. I saw some guy using bodies for puppets, and that means I saw zombies. Tachi-san could totally be a zombie. Irika rested a hand on Naruto's shoulder with a smile. If Itachi-san really was Irika had a hard time getting the words out without bursting into laughter again. A zombie puppet. Who is controlling him then? There was a pause as Naruto thought about the question. Uchiha-sama! Naruto exclaimed suddenly with vigor. Uchiha-sama was really, really cold. Colder than zombie Tachi-san, and he don't like me. Everything Uchiha zombie controller-sama told zombie Tachi-san to do, zombie Tachi-san did. Wide-eyed, Irika gripped Naruto by the shoulders hard, shaking him once, gently. Naruto, don't ever call Uchiha-sama Uchiha zombie controller-sama to his face. In fact, don't ever call him that. Uchiha-sama is not a zombie controller and Itachi-san is not a zombie, okay? Alright, Naruto furrowed his brow then shrugged. Can I call Tachi-san? No! I mean, Irika lowered his voice at Naruto flinch. No, Naruto, you can't call Itachi-san zombie Itachi-san. It isn't polite. Calling people by mean names hurts their feelings. Blue eyes clouded over and Naruto nodded distantly. Yeah, okay. I won't call anyone a mean name. Sorry, Irika-sensei. Shocked by his full name, Irika pulled Naruto back into a tight hug. This one not short, oh kiddo, you can call me Ka-sensei. It's not a mean name. It's a nickname, like the ones you have for your team. I like having you call me Ka-sensei. It means that you like me. Naruto sniffled in Irika's ear and nodded, burying his face in Irika's neck. He mumbled something and Irika hummed at him in question. Pulling away, just a tiny bit, Naruto mumbled again, love you Ka-sensei. Irika felt his heart melt all over again. Love you too, Naruto. Naruto breathed into his neck for a few moments then leapt back with a huge grin. What you doing tonight, Ka-sensei? Getting to his feet, a similar smile on his own face, Irika shouldered his satchel once more. Well, I have some remedial marking to do for the summer students. No, you gotta play with me and you ought to teach me something cool. Naruto grabbed the keys that Irika threw him and opened the front door. You could be Jounin ya no. I saw this Jounin out in the training field just next to us today, and you could have beat his ass if you'd wanted to. Language, Irika bit out sharply, watching Naruto tear through his living room. Sometimes Irika wondered why he never asked Naruto if he wanted to live with him. The poor boy was living in an apartment, all alone. Arms came up around Irika's shoulders. Naruto shut up mid-word and Irika remembered with a jolt that he never asked Naruto to come live with him because Naruto hated Mizuki. Hello, Irika. Mizuki murmured and Irika blushed. Mizuki, Naruto's here. Yeah, Mizuki's voice became a little strained. I heard. Naruto, why don't you clean up in the bathroom and I'll put some water on for ramen? Yay! Naruto streaked out of the room like he was on fire. Removing himself from Mizuki's restraining hold, Irika frowned at his lover. Mizuki, there are no PDAs when Naruto is here. I've told you before. Sorry, Irika. Every time I see you, I can't help myself. You're just so beautiful. Mizuki ran a hand through his thin, shoulder-length silver hair, angry with how he wasn't allowed to kiss his boyfriend when the younger teen invited the demon brat over. Drawing himself up, Irika hardened his eyes. I am not a play toy. This is my house and if you don't respect the rules, you can leave. You aren't paying rent. Mizuki looked shocked. Irika. Love. I'm your partner. Damn it, Mizuki, Irika took a deep breath. You don't pay for food, You don't pay for meals when we go out, you don't keep your promises, you pick up other girls and guys at the bar. I have just about had it with you. Do you understand me? Irika, Mizuki leaned in close to Irika, pressing their cheeks together. You don't make the rules. A hand sneaked up and lightly caressed Irika's throat, warning evident in how tight Mizuki held him. Before Irika could do anything more than blink at the impetuousness of the silver-headed assistant teacher, Mizuki's hand was ripped from his throat, and with a cry, Mizuki landed hard on his knees. Irika looked down to see Naruto standing on a kunai that was buried in Mizuki's upper calf. Touch Kachan again and I will fucking kill you. Understood? Naruto's high-pitched, childish voice would have normally sounded funny, but with Mizuki on the floor bleeding and another kunai to the 19-year-old's jugular, it wasn't. It wasn't funny at all. Naruto, Irika breathed out in shock. He'd never seen Naruto like this before. Never knew that Naruto saw him as a parent figure. Was a little surprised that Naruto saw him as his mother. Irika Kachan is my very first and most precious person. If you threaten Irika Kachan, you threaten my family. If you threaten my family, I will hunt you down, and I will tear you limb from limb. Naruto was growling now, and Irika went to step forward. Naruto glanced up at him, and Irika stopped. There was something in Naruto's eyes that screamed at him. Screamed pain at him. You! Mizuki sneered. Digging the blade of the kunai into Mizuki's throat just enough to draw blood, Naruto jerked Mizuki's head back by his hair. You wouldn't be my first kill. Not by a long shot, you motherfucking cocksucker. I am a genius genin. I am an orphan who lives in the bad part of town. I haven't been innocent for more than half of my very short life. Blood has run through my fingers and over my hands for so long that I can't remember the last time they were clean. Don't fuck with me. Naruto shook Mizuki's head once more and let him go, pushing him forward with a burst of chakra, forcing the oldest ninja in the room to catch himself on the floor with his forearms. Naruto, Irika went to Naruto and gathered the boy into his arms. Oh, Naruto. There was so much pain in Naruto's words that Irika couldn't help but feel horrified for his pseudo-son. Leave. Naruto glared at Mizuki, pointing the kunai at the door. The light from the entranceway glinted off the drop of blood that hung on to the tip of the blade. Mizuki glared back, before flinching at the killing intent that both Naruto and Irika leveled at him, and scrambled out the door. He won't be back, Naruto. He better not be. Naruto grimaced and wiped the blade on his shorts. Stupid idiot thought he could force Ka-sensei into anything. Bastard. If I hadn't got him, you'd killed the fucker. Naruto. Irika watched Naruto put the kunai away. Did you mean it? Mean what? Naruto cocked his head sideways, blinking. You said, Irika cleared his throat, you said that I was your very first and most precious person. That I was your Kachan. Cheeks flushed suddenly and Naruto looked away and down at the floor. He mumbled an affirmative under his breath. Irika put a finger under Naruto's chin and made him look back up. Would you like to move into the spare bedroom? What? Naruto flinched, startled by Irika's sudden offer. I'd like it if my son is living with me, like children should live with their parents. But I'm not. You're not, Naruto floundered for words. Irika couldn't help but smile. I love you, Naruto. If you consider me your parent, I consider you my son. Irika gave just a bit of a pout, though I'd rather prefer to be your father than your mother. Naruto smiled back. Chapter 4, Team Heno Heno Mahiji. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked over the three children standing in his office, heads held high and grins on their faces. Kakashi Hatake stood between Sarutobi and the children, and the Hokage shook his head. Kakashi. Your genin are not dogs. I know. Kakashi didn't even have the decency to blush or look away. You can't treat them the same way as you treat your Niken. I know. You don't own them. Yes, sir. Can you tell me why, exactly, your three genin have a Heno Heno Mahiji on their shirts? No, sir. Naruto-kun? Did Kakashi-sensei put the Heno Heno Mahiji on your shirt? Sarutobi looked around Kakashi at the smallest of the three. Nope. Naruto Uzumaki thumped his chest, had his Uchiwa on his shirt, and I wanna belong somewhere, and Pakken and Buru have a Heno Heno Mahiji on M, and so I drew one on my shirt. I'm Kaka-sensei's genin. Just like his Niken. Naruto, you don't need to brand yourself to belong somewhere. Sarutobi trailed off. If you started it, why do Sakura-chan and Sasuke-kun also have Heno Heno Mahijis? Naruto looked down at the ground. I was lonely. RA and Ku didn't want me to be alone, so they put faces on their shirts too. I see. Sarutobi didn't really see. Why the hell would an Uchiha replace his Uchiwa with a Heno Heno Mahiji on the whim of a teammate? It wasn't natural. It had never been done before. And you're sure that Kakashi-sensei had nothing to do with this? You got it, old man. Naruto pumped his fist into the air exuberantly. It was all me. At least the boy was as energetic as he ever was. Alright. Why don't you show Sakura-chan and Sasuke-kun around to your office? I would like to have a talk with your sensei. Old man, Naruto sounded reproving. I ain't dumb. You're gonna raise him for putting his mark on his genin. He didn't do it. I did it. Being a prankster still? Sarutobi shook his head at the eldest of the genin, and waved them outside. Go on now, Naruto. I still need to talk to Kakashi-sensei. The kids scowled, but trooped out of the office. Sarutobi looked back to his finest ANBU. How the teenager managed to be Jounin, Genin-sensei, and ANBU operative all at the same time astounded Sarutobi. The Hokage had thought that the Hatake would have quit his ANBU position at the very least, but he hadn't. Now, Kakashi? Hokage-sama, Kakashi held up a hand. I know when the kids are mocking me, and I know when Naruto-chan's been completely honest. This whole business about the Heno Heno Mahiji is a bit of both. Naruto-chan is interested in belonging and does consider everything with the scarecrow face emblem on it to be mine. But he's also jerking our chain, because just last week he got Sakura-chan and Sasuke-chan to slant their hatides over their left eye for 3 days. Sarutobi coughed into his hand to cover his chuckle. He could just imagine the 3 children walking around with their hatides askew like their sensei. It would be so cute. You got pictures, I assume? There was a twinkle in Kakashi's eye. Of course I did, Hokage-sama. He pulled out a small package and tossed it lightly on the desk. I got copies for you, Itachi and myself. I don't think Sakura-chan's parents would understand the joke. No, they wouldn't. Not as civilians they wouldn't. Sarutobi pulled the photographs from the envelope and couldn't hide his smile at the cuteness in the pictures. He was almost through all the pictures when a single one of Sasuke came up. He paused and stared at the photograph with wide eyes. Is that the one? Kakashi leaned over the desk to glimpse at the picture and nodded to himself. Yeah? So I found out 2 weeks ago that Sasuke's Sharingan is active. Not only the Sharingan, but the Mangekyo Sharingan. Seeing a 6-year-old with bright red and black swirled eyes was a shock. Knowing that the boy had Mangekyo meant that Sasuke had killed someone close to him. It was the only way. What did he say about it? Kakashi shook his head. I didn't ask. I know that everyone thinks that a Uchiha has to kill someone that they're close to for the Mangekyo to activate, but it's not quite that simple. Kakashi closed his eye and turned his head downwards. You don't kill someone you're close to emotionally. You kill someone who has been in physical contact with you using their reproductive organs. That means that Sasuke either killed his mother for giving birth to him, and Mikoto-san is still alive, or he killed someone he had sex with. Sarutobi saw red. He's 6. Yes. Kakashi looked up, and his father is the head of the Konoha police force. I asked Fugaku-san about Sasuke's Sharingan. He said that there were no arrests. But there was a body that turned up in a hotel room a few days after Sasuke come home one evening crying. There was a feral air to Kakashi as his killing intent leaked out. Fugaku found out about the Mangekyo, and the investigation into the man's death was determined to be self-defense in civilian court. Breathing deeply to control his anger, Sarutobi put the photo with the others back in the envelope. I assume that you scheduled counseling for Sasuke-kun. Already taken care of. Fugaku and Mikoto are taking him every Saturday to the Uchiha counselor. There are about 2 other Uchiha with the Mangekyo. I believe that they were mission-related, but even the Uchiha know that the trauma of rape has to be dealt with. Anything else to report, Kakashi? Kakashi paused before nodding. I believe that Sasuke told Naruto what happened. He paused again. Naruto is usually a very enthusiastic young boy, but there are times where he and Sasuke spend hours alone, talking quietly by the memorial stone. I overheard some of the conversations that they've been having, and I think Naruto understands exactly what Sasuke is going through, and it makes me want. They're just children, for God's sake. Have you found out who assaulted Naruto? Killing intent was pouring from Sarutobi, and Kakashi was thankful that he was as trained as he was, or he'd be on his knees begging for the fear to end. No. I have Nico and Karasa looking into it. If Kakashi was the one investigating, he knew that he wouldn't be able to help himself from killing anyone that even looked at Naruto wrong. That was a lot of people, and it only took one for Naruto to be able to sympathize with Sasuke. Neither of the A and BU have told him that they've found anything, though. What of Sakura? Sarutobi wasn't sure what he would do if he found out that all 3 of the young graduates had been sexually assaulted. He wasn't sure that he could take it. Kakashi smiled, his visible eye clearing. She's fine. Good parents, no real issues. She has a bit of an extreme personality, but we're working on that. Thank the gods. Sarutobi rested his hands flat on his desk. About Naruto, has he confided in you? Or only Sasuke? He hasn't said anything about his life to me. If I didn't know how he was treated by watching him while in ANBU, I wouldn't think him any different than Sakura. Do you think that Sasuke could get Naruto to go with him on Saturdays? To the counselor? I would have to ask Fugaku. The Uchiha don't let non-Uchiha talk to their therapists. Kakashi shrugged his shoulders. I'd have to tell Fugaku, Sasuke, and Naruto that I know what happened to the boys, and then get Naruto to agree to go to counseling. Then get Fugaku to allow the Jinchuriki to use the Uchiha therapist. You have to let him know that you know anyway. Ask him if he'd be willing to go with Sasuke. If he says no, take him to the Yamanakas. They have training in psychology. One gray eye widened, for interrogation, not counseling. He blurted out, then calmed himself. Sorry, sir, I was surprised. Naruto has to see a counselor about this. I don't want him ending up hating the majority of Konoha because of childhood trauma. Sarutobi pinned Kakashi with a hard look. Ask Naruto and Sasuke if you could tell Sakura about it. If the whole team knows, it'll be easier for all 4 of you. Yes, sir. Kakashi bowed. Is there anything else, sir? No, you're dismissed. Sir. Kakashi bowed again and left the Hokage's office in search of his genin. He found them gathered around Naruto's desk in the room that had been set aside for the boys some time ago, a level under Sarutobi's office, looking at some papers intently. He didn't go into the room, staying outside to eavesdrop on their conversation. So, given what information you got from Haku, Momochi should have fled from Kirigakure by now with him, right? Sasuke muttered to Naruto, and the blonde boy nodded. Yeah. Haku's dad gathered some villagers and killed his mom, and then Haku killed them and his dad, and Momochi found him a few years later on the streets. Haku is, I think he's about 8, probably 9 now. He's only a few years older than me and 3 years older than you guys. I don't think Momochi adopted him though, just picked him up to make him into a weapon because of his bloodline. Sakura scoffed. One miserable ninja from Kiri doesn't mind bloodline limits, and it just so happens to be Zabuza Momochi. What fucking irony. Sasuke chuckled with her, and Naruto shushed them. Hush up, guys, we're still in the tower. So, if we know that Momochi has gone missing, it stands to reason that he's hard-pressed to train Haku and fend off Kiri's hunters at the same time, right? Right, Sasuke agreed. Then we have the advantage. We're better trained than Haku, and Kakashi-sensei can beat Momochi with one hand tied behind his back right now. If we give them another 6 years, the outcome could be different. You remember that water prison that Momochi likes to use? Yeah, Sakura sighed, a true silent assassin, that Momochi. Are we going to be able to convince Kakashi-sensei to take us out on a mission towards Kiri? There was a frown in Sasuke's voice, and Kakashi cocked his head to the side. This was not what he was expecting. He himself had only just heard that one of the 7 swordsmen of Kiri had tried to kill his Kage and fled the village when the attempt failed. How did 3 kids under the age of 10 know? And what the hell were they planning? Why would they want to go towards an A-rank missing nin? Sakura spoke up, I don't think we will be able to. I mean, who the hell takes 2 6-year-olds and a 7-year-old near an area confirmed to be harboring a missing nin? Kakashi-sensei may be a little touched in the head, but he isn't stupid. Besides, she waved a hand negligently, we all know his stance on teammates. He would die before letting us get killed. Which means there's no way of getting us up close and personal with Momochi right now. Naruto sounded despondent and Kakashi shook his head to clear his mind. What wonderfully genius children he was teaching, knowing that he wouldn't ever take them near a missing nin as dangerous as one of the 7 swordsmen. The question remained though, what were they trying to do and what did it have to do with Zabuza Momochi and this Haku? Throwing open the door, Kakashi grinned at his students, hello there my cutest little students. Oh God, Sakura buried her face in her hands, leave flashbacks. Both the boys patted her shoulders in commiseration and Kakashi added another name onto his list to check out. Damn these kids for making him so curious about some things that he'd had to cut down on his Memorial Stone visiting time. Sokra-chan, we totally understand. Naruto smiled up at Kakashi, hello Kakashi-sensei. Naruto-chan. What V you got there? Kakashi leaned over Sasuke's head to look at the papers. All that he could see was a map of the elemental countries. Curious. Very curious. Maybe it was a genjutsu. Sakura was very good at those. Just looking at the borders around Fire Country, Naruto pushed the papers towards him and grinned that innocent little grin that Kakashi wouldn't trust was innocent in a million years. Do you want to look? No, that's fine Naruto-chan. Are you guys ready to go get another mission? Okay, seriously Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke spoke, disgusted, if we take one more D-rank, I'm going on strike. I've never done this many chores before in my entire life. Oh God, you don't even know the worst of it, Naruto rolled his eyes. Just wait until we're Chunin or even Jounin and the desk ninja insist on D-ranks cause we're so small. It'll be so embarrassing. I get you, Sakura rolled her eyes in tandem with Sasuke, I totally get you. Chapter 5, C rank please. Are we going to be nominated for the Chunin exams? Sasuke asked lightly as he poked Kakashi in the knee, annoyed that his teacher was sleeping. Again. Sakura rolled her eyes seriously, Sasuke-kun, Kaka-sensei isn't going to nominate us. He hasn't even given us a C rank yet. Besides, you should stop asking him, we've only been genin for a month. And we've completed 12 D rank missions. Our teamwork is exceptional. What's wrong with wanting to advance? Sasuke griped. He was so tired of the boring chores that had been forced on him. He was also starting to regret going along with Naruto's plan to fake getting his Mangekyo. Therapy was not fun. At least he wasn't going alone. The Uchiha snorted. So what happened to Mizuki team anyway, Naruto? Sasuke asked as he turned to watch his Hokage painting on a scroll with chakra-infused blood. Oh well, I stabbed him. Threatened to kill him. Naruto shrugged delicately as to not disturb his ceiling lines. Well, threatened to tear him piece to piece actually. Irika-sensei was impressed. He didn't even tell me off for calling Mizuki a motherfucking cocksucker. Sakura stifled a giggle. Kakashi opened his visible eye and stared at Naruto. He blinked, asking in an incredulous tone, you stabbed at Chunin? Oh yeah, Naruto drawled, not really paying attention, held a kunai up to his jugular too. If he hadn't have left when I told him to, I totally would have killed him. As it was, I nicked his throat as a warning. Naruto, how did you get close enough to do that? Kakashi asked bemusedly. He was aware that his students were geniuses, but even though he himself had been a 6-year-old genin, it had been during a time of war and children were advanced much quicker than they should have been. Without even a flicker of chakra, Naruto vanished from sight only to reappear less than a second later sitting next to his sensei, kunai point digging lightly into his jounin vest, like that. Holy crap. Kakashi breathed quietly. How good are you at the body flicker? Good enough that you didn't see me coming, Naruto replied, smirking up at the jounin. It's not like the body flicker is hard. I mean, I was playing flicker with Shursui-san last Saturday after our appointment. He said that I was good, But all I really do is compress my chakra to a point where it seems to be the same as a normal gust of wind. No one thinks to be wary of a gust of wind. Naruto's eyes closed as his smirk intensified. It helps that I'm wind-natured. Okay. Kakashi leapt to his feet with his exclamation, new plan today. What, no more sleeping? Sasuke muttered to Sakura, who chuckled quietly. You're going to show me how good you are at the 3 academy taught techniques. What, clone, replacement, and transformation? Naruto clarified Kakashi's statement as he frowned. That's it? If you're good enough at the body flicker to impress Shursui of the body flicker, then I want to see what else you excel at. Kakashi waved them down from the trees and pointed at Sakura. You first. Replacement. Okay. Sakura immediately did 5 rapid replacements using her sensei, her teammates, 1 squirrel and a training log. What now? She asked, her tone informing her sensei how useless she thought the exercise to be. Clone. Regular or typed? Kakashi looked closely at Sakura. All the ones you know. A second later there were 10 Sakuras standing before him. Great. 9 kunai flashed into Kakashi's hand and one by one the clones were destroyed. The first was water, followed by mud, blossom, honey, haze, shadow, rock, lightning and fire. Kakashi paused and stared. There was only one of those clone types that he'd never seen before. Fire? Yes. I figured that we're in fire country and all the other countries have a type of clone, so I spent, 3 months working out how to make a clone of fire. The best part about a fire clone is that if you physically attack it, you'll get set on fire. Sakura clapped her hands, exited that there was someone she could lecture who hadn't been there when she'd come up with the process. I used the composition of Greek fire to make the clone, so everything that the fire touches will catch on fire and water won't put it out. I had to learn how to shield obviously, so the clone doesn't set fire to the grass when it walks around, but that was a fairly simple addition to make. Kakashi stated Greek fire. He'd heard of Greek fire from the scientists, but he'd never come across it in a fight. It was ingenious. That's very good, Sakura. Very good. Then Kakashi realized something. You didn't use hand signs. No, you're correct, I didn't. I think of using hand signs as giving advance warning, so anything I know that doesn't require me to use hand signs will usually be the first to be played out of my arsenal. Sakura paused in her lecture and blushed. You wanted to see a transformation as well, right? Please. Without hesitation, Sakura was suddenly a perfect copy of Kakashi. Yo. Sakura Kakashi pulled a small orange book from his weapons pouch and flipped it open. Curious, Kakashi went to her side and leaned over her shoulder. The book? Part of the transformation, Sakura Kakashi blushed and handed the book over to her sensei. Flipping through the pages, Kakashi was shocked to see that there was writing. Reading one of the pages, he raised an eyebrow. This really is Ika paradise. It's not, actually. Sakura dropped her transformation and gestured at the book. A transformation is really just a genjutsu, and genjutsu is one of my specialty areas. I transformed something relatively innocent into an orange-colored book, and weaved a genjutsu around it so that whatever you find inside is what you expected to find. Ah, Kakashi hummed his approval, letting the mind of your opponent work for you instead of for him. Correct. Excellent work, Sakura-chan. Kakashi tossed the book back to Sakura, who caught a ceiling scroll, and turned to Sasuke. Your turn. If we impress you, are you going to let us do AC rank? Sasuke crossed his arms belligerently. I don't know yet, Sasuke-chan. It's always a possibility. Kakashi's eye curved up as he smiled at his student, and Sasuke scowled. Fine. Without anything else said, Sasuke created 10 different types of clones, replaced himself with every one of them and transformed at the end of the string of replacements, becoming a small pebble that his shadow clone picked up and started tossing into the air. Kakashi's grin spread wider. Wonderful. You are very good at these techniques. What type of clones do you have? The shadow. Sasuke shrugged a shoulder and replied, crow, water, haze, clay, lightning, fire, leaf, wood, smoke, and shadow. As he said each type of clone, that particular clone dispersed. When he spoke his own type, Sasuke Rock dropped his transformation and replaced the dispersal smoke from the shadow. He glowered at his teacher. Is that enough? Wonderful, Kakashi repeated gaily. He turned to Naruto, and last but not least, Naruto? Naruto smirked. He couldn't help it. I'm not so good with the academy level transformation, or the clone really. I can do the replacement. Naruto paused to replace himself with a single falling leaf 10 meters away, but it takes more concentration than I like. Okay, what clones do you know? Kakashi inquired. He was impressed that Naruto had managed to replace himself with a moving object that was so small. He'd been impressed with the others' work as well. It was hard not to be impressed when you had 6-year-olds doing more than half a dozen different clone types at the drop of a hat. I can do 14 versions of the clone. Sasuke interrupted Naruto with a snort. 11. You have 4 types of shadow clone and 2 clay types. Naruto cried out, I'd like to see you do a blood shadow or mass shadow clone. Kakashi cocked his head to the side. Mass? He inquired curiously. Yeah. The first time I did it, I made 525 shadow clones. Naruto jumped and punched his fist into the air. Then I saw someone's clone explode. Naruto emphasized his last word with cupped hands that flung outwards, signifying an explosion, and widened his eyes. So now I have shadow explosion. There was a nervous chuckle from the student sensei. Ma, I don't think we need anything to be exploding right now, Naruto. Can you list off the clones you do know? Naruto hesitated, blinking and looking up at the sky in thought. Shadow, shadow explosion, multiple shadow, blood shadow, clay explosion, mud, fire, leaf, water, grass, lightning, paper, ink, and sand. Oh really? Kakashi sounded a little faint, and Naruto nodded. There were at least 3 clone types in that list that the Jounin had never heard of, and 2 that he'd only just been introduced to. And of course, Naruto lowered his voice and licked his lips, disturbingly looking like he was about to try seducing someone. My homemade version of the transformation. In the background 2 childish voices cried out in indignation. Harem technique. 34 well-endowed, naked women of varying facial and body structures appeared and piled onto of Kakashi with moans and groans as they undulated against the poor 19-year-old and each other. Naruto sat back and giggled into his hand. Up until Sakura whapped him across the back of the head. You idiot! No, seriously, Naruto. Sasuke bent down to stare the other boy in the face when Naruto had pulled himself off the ground. He was actually going to do some training with us. And you went and fucked it up by getting him off. Sorry guys, Naruto hung his head in shame. Naruto sighed, I just haven't used that in so long I couldn't help myself. The 3 genin turned back to watch Kakashi drag himself out of the pile of women. He looked more than a little ragged as he begged breathlessly, please make it stop. Naruto have a tiny nod and the clones vanished in puffs of smoke. Kakashi rolled onto his back and stared up at the sky, dazed and confused. How? Who? What the hell was that? That was my harem technique. An ingenious combination of the shadow clone and transformation techniques. If I do say so myself, Naruto buffed his fingers against his shirt, proud of his ability to take out any hot-blooded man or woman. I'm restricting you from using that unless there is no other option available. Do you understand me? Kakashi instructed Naruto forcefully as he got to his feet. That technique is dangerous. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto simpered, bobbing his head up and down in an imitation of a nod. He was totally lying. No one was ever going to restrict him from using his harem whenever he wanted to. Kakashi staggered over to the tree that he'd been sleeping in earlier and dropped into a cross-legged position. One question about your... It was almost painful for Kakashi to say the word, harem. Those noises that they were making, they sounded awfully real. How did you know how to make them sound like that? Oh. Naruto mumbled something under his breath. Kakashi leaned toward the blonde. What was that? The orphanage that I was in when I was little, Naruto hedged. I got thrown out when I was 4, you know? He didn't look up from the ground. As he continued speaking, his words turned clipped and unfeeling, as though he was giving a mission report instead of expanding on his personal history. Sometimes the whores would feel sorry for me if it was raining and let me spend the night in the closet or in the second bed of their hotel room. I heard a lot of stuff. Barachan had fairly tamed Johns, so she'd usually be the one to pick me up. If Bara-chan wasn't around, Toji-sama would pick me up, but he made me watch most of the time. It was one of his conditions. There was silence, and then 2 sets of arms came around him. Even before they'd come back, Naruto had never told his teammates what his childhood had been like. However, it was now, it had been worse the first time around, and Sasuke and Sakura knew that. Kakashi watched his students, his face serious. He'd at first thought that Naruto's harem was great fun, no matter how dangerous it was for people who were unprepared. Then the clones had started touching and caressing and moaning, and Kakashi had realized that no 7-year-old thought up something as detailed as that. Something like that had to been seen to be copied. Clapping his hands together, Kakashi brought the attention of his genin back to him. Well, he proclaimed, you have impressed me. I don't see a reason we can't beg AC rank off of the Hokage. Throwing himself at Kakashi, Naruto whooped loudly, catching his sensei around the waist in a hug. Awesome, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura couldn't contain her enthusiasm either, hugging Sasuke tightly. Who? Seize! Finally! Sasuke let a genuine smile grace his face as he patted Sakura's back coolly. It will be a pleasant change. Ma, I only said we'd get a C mission. That doesn't mean that we're off D's altogether, Kakashi maintained. Remember Kaka-sensei's rule number 26? The 3 children sighed and nodded, chorusing out together, you can always do something that will better Konoha. D ranks are just as important as A ranks. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Naruto glanced over to his friend and nodded at him. He knew exactly what the Uchiha was thinking and couldn't help but to explain to their sensei, who never had learned how to speak proper, silent, Uchiha. We're ninja. Assassins. Thieves. We don't do these things called honor and glory. The only reason Konoha starts new ninja off with D ranks is to appease the general civilian population that we are not turning children into killers before they reach the age of adulthood in civilian law. Kakashi stared at Naruto. Naruto held up a hand, telling him to wait for the blonde to finish up. At least, that's how the Uchiha see it. For myself, personally, I know that doing D ranks are good for getting teams to work together, and as ninja of Konoha we need the skills of teamwork. That's one of the reasons that we're the top ninja village in the elemental countries. We send out teams to do the job instead of just 1 or 2 ninja who don't know how to work with or even around each other. With our skills and teamwork, we may take a pay cut because the reward is split so many different ways, but the job gets done and everyone comes home. It's a better business practice in the long run, money-wise, and it is a better use of human resources. Kakashi tried very hard not to broadcast his marvel at Naruto's very grown-up version of why exactly Konoha was set up as it was. The reasoning that the boy had given sounded like it had come out of the Chunin graduate class that was a requirement before advancing to Jounin. Nicely put, Naruto, Sakura agreed evenly. I'd agree with both versions of your explanation intellectually, but lean towards your reasoning under the ninja village law. No matter how many civilians are in a hidden village, the ninja outmatched them exponentially. Even if Konoha was making children into killers, the civilians couldn't do anything because they only think they have the power. We present a nice face to the civilians and pretend to be malleable, but we could kill them all in less than an hour. Not even that, Sasuke snorted. Civilians are weak. They do have money, Sasuke allowed, but if they weren't paying us for killing other people, we'd just steal the money from them. They don't know that there are pawns. So, how about that C rank? Kakashi gathered his genin together and started herding them towards the Hokage Tower. It was a painful reminder of himself as a child whenever his team started talking about killing. They were too young, far too young, and yet they had a better grasp of what they were doing than most Chunin. The number one reason why most Chunin never made it further up the chain of command was their inability to see every side of the issue, whatever issue was in front of them. If his kids could already see at least 3 sides to the issue of their profession, they were well on their way to becoming Chunin. As the children turned their conversation to something lighter, Kakashi wondered how the Hokage would feel about him nominating his team for the Chunin exam. It was going to be held in Sand this time, and they did have a non-violence treaty with them. Chapter 6: Memorial Conversation. Why are we leaving a week earlier than everyone else? I mean, it's only going to take us a few days to get to Suna. I don't see why we can't leave with the other teams. Naruto complained to Iruka as he sealed away his clothes and toiletries for the trip to the Chunin exams. Iruka ruffled Naruto's hair. You guys are leaving early because you're younger. Ah man, Naruto groaned. We can run every other genin team into the ground and they want us to leave early because we might get tired and have to rest? You're young, Naruto. Enjoy it, Iruka said happily. Now, do you have time to eat before you leave, or are you going to be late? I've only ever been late for one thing in my life, Kachan. Naruto shook his head. The only thing Naruto had ever been late for was getting Sasuke back to Konoha. It had worked out in the end though. Alright, one last bowl of ramen at Ichiraku's and I'll see you off at the main gates. How does that sound? Iruka asked, nudging the boy out the door. Naruto nodded and they made their way to Ichiraku's. Sasuke and Itachi were at the ramen stand when they arrived. Hey Tachi-san, Naruto greeted the solemn Uchiha brothers as he sat beside Sasuke, leaving the stool next to Itachi free for Iruka to take. Naruto. Sasuke pushed a steaming bowl of pasta to Naruto. Are you all packed? Yep, Naruto mumbled around his first bite of ramen. Itachi watched Naruto eat with fascination. He'd seen the boy be completely polite at the genin introduction dinner held at the Uchiha house, so he knew that Naruto could eat like a civilized being, but watching the boy slurp down his food like a garburator was seriously disturbing. You've never seen a starving street rat eat before, have you, Itachi-san? Iruka's question was voiced low enough that the elder Uchiha brother was the only one who heard it. No, I haven't, Itachi turned to Iruka curiously. Iruka shrugged a shoulder. We learn to eat whatever we have fast so that no one will take it away from us. Itachi raised an eyebrow. I may have a house that was left to me by my parents, but I've been an orphan for 7 years. I know what it's like to go without. It's not something that I'll ever let happen to Naruto again. Aniki, Sasuke tugged the edge of Itachi's sleeve. I'd like to go to the memorial stone before we leave. I wish to say goodbye to some people, Sasuke answered Itachi's unspoken question. Me too. Naruto waved his flimsy wooden chopsticks around in the air. I gotta say bye to Kachan's parents. Naruto looked at Itachi. Did you know that Izumi-ba-chan and Ikuruji-chan died fighting the Kyuubi? I did not know that. Itachi shot a discreet look at Iruka to check his emotional response to his parents' death being practically shouted out to a stranger. To Itachi's surprise, it didn't seem to bother the scarred ninja. Iruka smiled modestly. I told Naruto that I would introduce him to my parents before his first Chunin exam. I wasn't expecting it to be within 5 months of his graduation to genin. The joys of a child genius, Itachi spoke serenely. Laughing, Iruka shook his head. Oh, if only I had been. No, you, Kakashi-sensei, and the children are the genius. I was smart, but nowhere near close to your guys' levels. Naruto threw his arms around Iruka's waist with a large grin plastered on his face. You lie, Kachan. I sneaked your IQ scores from the tower. Your mom was a Nara. Rubbing the defining scar that crossed over his nose, Iruka flushed. Alright, Naruto, you're right. I did lie. I am very smart. I could take on any Nara alive right now and probably come out on top in terms of IQ, but I'm not a natural ninja like you 5. I have to work very hard to keep my skills sharp. All 5 of you Tensei could stop being ninja for months and come back to the plate fresh as daisies and ready to kick anyone's ass. Itachi looked down at the ground. For an 11-year-old prodigy, he was startlingly modest. Iruka liked that. Memorial stone? Naruto reminded the 2 older ninja and they stood. Both reached for their pockets to pull out their wallets, and Itachi gestured for Iruka to put his ratty leather purse away. Allow me. Right, Iruka muttered. It wasn't like he was poor. He could pay for himself and Naruto without a problem. Iruka shook his head to clear it, and firmly told himself that Itachi was only being kind, not condescending. Thank you, Itachi-san. You're welcome, Yamano-san, Itachi said by rote. Oh, please, just Iruka is fine. Iruka corrected Itachi's use of his name. I'm only 5 years older than you. Itachi nodded his agreement, and they were silent for the rest of the walk. Naruto wasn't silent, and talk enough for all 3 other people that were in his group. Sasuke made remarks here and there in between Naruto's rapid speech that garnered a chuckle or two from Iruka. Sasuke was the first to the memorial stone, and he sunk to his knees in front of it. He traced over his cousin's name as he whispered, "Hello Obito and Aizen. I'm going to Suna for my first Chunin exam. Kakashi-sensei is making us leave almost a week before everyone else leaves, but I think that's because he's being cautious." Obito Uchiha was the only Uchiha other than Itachi that Sasuke had any real respect for. He had found out about the betrayal that the Uchiha had been driven to, and though he didn't approve of how Itachi was told to handle it, he didn't blame his brother for following orders. Sasuke had come to realize that if his clan was still around when Naruto ascended to Hokage, he too would have wiped them all out to save Konoha from civil war. He trusted Naruto far more than he would trust any from the Uchiha clan, and he could now see that Itachi trusted Sarutobi in the same way. Obito was lucky to be dead when the coup d'état was planned. He would have been killed for being the Hokage's former student. His loyalty wouldn't have been trusted, and Kakashi would have lost his friend either way. Having learned about Obito from Kakashi, Sasuke was glad that his entire family wasn't made up of assholes and pompous bastards. Sometimes he thought that the Hyuga had nothing on the Uchiha pride. No wonder Itachi had been under so much pressure. This time around would be different. This time Itachi wouldn't have to kill everyone. There wasn't as much pressure on the Uchiha either, what with a second Uchiha genius on the same team as the sacrifice. If the Uchiha was content, even pleased, to be teamed with the sacrifice, it showed two things. One, that the Uchiha were willing to play nice with anyone if need be, and two, the village trusted that the Uchiha were strong enough to survive, perhaps even win, if the sacrifice succumbed to the monster inside. Not that Sasuke cared what others thought. The only reason he was on Naruto's team was because they had planned it that way. Naruto was his Hokage, and he was his Hokage's right hand. Sasuke finished his conversation with Obito and moved out of the way so that Naruto and Iruka could knee at the stone. He'd kept his conversations with the future dead silent. He returned to his place at his brother's side and grabbed his hand. "Thank you." Sasuke hesitated, then continued with forced nonchalance, "Nitama." Itachi glanced quickly down at his little brother, and a smile broke over his face as he squeezed Sasuke's hand. "You are welcome, Oturo." "Mother, father," Iruka pulled Naruto close. "This is Naruto Uzumaki. I guess I've unofficially adopted him. I know that I'm young, but I had to grow up fast after you died. I'm a Chunin and just started my second year of teaching at the academy. I think you would be proud of me." "They are. Believe it." Naruto hugged Iruka spontaneously. Iruka hugged him back. Turning to the memorial stone, Naruto became somber. "Hi. I'm Naruto and I'm gonna call you Grandma and Grandpa. Kachan is really awesome. He's really strong and really smart, just like me." Naruto frowned. "I think he needs some help looking for a lover though." Mizuki was a right bastard. Naruto sneaked a look up at his guardian. "I wouldn't mind a girl this time. I know that Kachan don't really care about gender, but sometimes girls smell really nice, and they're so soft too. I think Kachan needs someone soft." Mizuki team was too hard. "I almost killed him. He was threatening my mom." "No one threatens my mom and gets away with it." "Naruto," Iruka shook his head with a rueful smile, "I thought we agreed that I would be your father, not your mother." "Nah, we didn't agree to anything. You wanted to be my dad, but you're already my mom 'cause you make me clean behind my ears and do my homework and eat veggies. You even put me to bed at night and kiss my cheek. That's more of a mom thing. That's what Kusays anyway." Naruto raised his voice at the end and grinned widely. Sasuke scowled. "I don't care what he's saying, Iruka-sensei, he is lying." Iruka and Itachi both laughed, and Iruka turned his attention back to the stone. "Well, now you've met your grandson. I hope you approve." Naruto clambered up Iruka to hug his neck tightly. "They do. Nothing you could do would make them not approve." "Double negative, Naruto-chan," Iruka reprimanded as he stood, Naruto in his arms. "Are we ready to go?" Iruka asked of Itachi. The preteen nodded yes. "Sasuke has his belongings sealed in scrolls." "Naruto as well." Iruka put Naruto down. "Okay then, race to the main gate. Rules, no ninjutsu, no genjutsu. Body only, you may augment with chakra. First one there gets a week of takeout when you guys get back from Suna." And go! Sasuke was the first one out of sight, but Naruto wasn't much more than a millisecond behind him. Chapter 7: Suna Vacation. So that was easy. Naruto cradled the back of his head with his folded hands as he and his team of tiny tensai walked out of the exam room where the written portion of the test had been held. No shit, Sasuke rolled his eyes. There wasn't even any psychological torture involved. I could have done this test before. Hey, a 15-year-old Suna Genin stepped in front of the three Konoha ninja and scowled down at them. Kids aren't allowed in administration buildings unless they're escorted by Chunin. Sasuke stared at the boy, glanced back to his teammates, and then back at the boy. Did you, or did you not, just see us take the written exam with you? He asked condescendingly. The teenager frowned. No, seriously. We're Konoha ninja. Sasuke flashed his hatred at the teen. Are you blind? You're way too young. Before Sakura could make a scathing remark, the hall went quiet as the Kazekage slammed the doors open and stood at the top of the stairs, looking down at all the hopeful genin. Naruto hissed. There was a tiny little redhead standing a step behind and to the side of the Kazekage. Goddamn, Sasuke muttered, taking a step to his left to cover Naruto. He was always stepping in front of Naruto. It was his job. Damn it, Sasuke, you. I couldn't take on a 12-year-old Jinchuriki, but I can take on a 6-year-old. I took on Kurabai a few years later after all. Sasuke scowled as he saw Gaara of the Sand jerk his head up and stare at him intently, confusion in his solid turquoise irises. If Sasuke could get Gaara focused on himself rather than on Naruto. Naruto stepped out from behind Sasuke and Gaara's intense eyes followed him. Something is different. Sakura frowned and stared at the boy. Her eyes widened and she covered her mouth with her hand. Guys, he doesn't have his tattoo. Gaara was indeed missing the blood-red kanji tattoo on his forehead. Naruto? Sasuke questioned his leader. He knew that the tattoo was important, but he had never been told the entire reason, nor had he asked for the information. It seemed like a personal detail and Sasuke didn't really care about the Godame's personal details. It means that Gaara hasn't killed his uncle, Yashimari, yet. It means that Gaara doesn't know that it's his father that's trying to kill him. Naruto told his captain under his breath. Father, Gaara's childish voice was low, but Naruto wasn't a sacrifice for nothing. He heard the boy. Father, there is someone down there. The Kazekage looked down to his son and raised an eyebrow, not that anyone could see that behind his veil. Yes, Gaara, there are people down there. No, father, someone. Someone like me. Gaara was excited. He'd never known there were others like him. He'd thought himself alone and singular. Killing intent crashed down on every genin in the waiting area. Almost all of them fell to their knees in tears. Team Tensai did not. The Kazekage and Gaara stared at the only three people still standing. Gaara was smiling. Kill them. The command from his father confused Gaara and the boy blinked, unsure. He questioned the command, Father? It's dangerous. Kill them. All of them? Gaara frowned. There were a lot of people in the area. He'd never killed that many people at one time before. Just the three standing, the Kazekage pointed at Team Tensai. Sasuke and Sakura stepped forward. Sakura bowed low. Kazekage-sama, we are here only to complete the Chunin exam. And yet you bring a Jinchuriki with you. That is not the action of someone only coming to another hidden village to do something as insignificant as the Chunin exam. The Chunin exam was not the only way for genin to be promoted up a rank. The Kazekage sneered, bringing a Jinchuriki to another village is an act of war. Konoha has a non-violence treaty with Suna, Kazekage-sama. Sakura continued. It was her job to get her team out of this situation. She was the most diplomatic of the three-man team after all. The Kazekage barely restrained himself from flinching. Konoha was a fairly peaceful, if powerful, hidden village. Sarutobi was considered weak, for all his past glory. If they had a Jinchuriki, what else were they hiding? Sand started to swirl around the edges of the room. Gaara didn't want to kill someone like himself, but he would obey his father. His father loved him. Naruto placed a hand on Sakura and Sasuke's shoulders. Kazekage-sama. The Kazekage narrowed his eyes at the blonde, I have no intention of killing anyone here unless they attack me first. Naruto jerked his head to the side, indicating the rising sand. A tanuki is no match for a fox. The Kazekage blanched. The 9 tails. Konoha had the 9 tails contained. The boy was right. Gaara was no match for him. Gaara had no formal training, and this Jinchuriki had come to compete in the Chunin exams, to show off the control he had over his power. Gaara, hold, commanded the leader of Suna. Gaara dropped the sand like it was boiling hot. He hadn't wanted to kill the boy. Something tickled the edge of Gaara's mind, and the redhead watched the team closely. Thank you, Kazekage-sama. Sakura bowed again. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask our Jounin-sensei, Kakashi Hatake. Oh dear God. The Kazekage was suddenly glad that he'd stopped Gaara from trying to kill the blonde. Even if Gaara had managed to carry out his order, dealing with the copy ninja Kakashi after would have been a test of strength. Kakashi was said to be as strong as a Kage. He was the son of the famed White Fan of Konoha. Who are you? The Kazekage asked, bitter about his seeming impotence against these genin. His inability to carry out a command would strike others as weak. I am Sakura Horino. The negotiator bowed a third time. The black-haired boy nodded his head in an imitation of a bow. Sasuke Uchiha. The Jinchuriki actually smiled at him. He showed off his sharp canine teeth. Naruto Uzumaki. A Uchiha, a Jinchuriki, and a girl strong enough to be put on the same team as them. And smart enough to stop the Kazekage from trying to kill them. Horino was one to watch. Really, they all were. They were 6 after all. Gaara's father brought his thoughts back to their sensei. Hatake had become Chunin at age 6 as well. I see. Placing a hand on Gaara's head, the Kazekage dropped his killing intent, and the other genin slowly began to come back to themselves. Not bothering to wait until all the genin were paying attention, the Kazekage announced, "Congratulations to everyone who passed the written. The doors at the other end of the hall lead to the next part of the exam. There are waivers with the Chunin. You cannot commence with the second part of the exam until you have signed the waivers." His robes swirling around him, the Kazekage left to go back to where he could watch the exam in private. Gaara stayed. With a heavy sigh, Naruto headed towards the silent boy. Hey! I'm Naruto. Naruto introduced himself, holding his hand out. Gaara stared at him. Naruto chuckled, "You're supposed to shake my hand and introduce yourself. It's polite." Gaara whispered as he clasped their hands together, and let go immediately. Nice to meet you, Gaara. This is Sakura and Sasuke. They're my friends. You have friends? They aren't scared of you? Gaara asked in confusion. He'd never had a friend. The only person who was nice to him was his uncle. You'd have to ask them. I don't speak for Sakura or Sasuke on their feelings. Naruto could and did speak for them when it was about their jobs, but never for their feelings. Sakura smiled and held her hand out. Hi Gaara, I'm Sakura, and no, I'm not afraid of Naruto. He's actually very nice. Sasuke, the Uchiha grunted as Gaara took Sakura's hand. He hadn't been friends with the Godame Kazekage in the future, and felt no need to be his friend now. You aren't scared of Naruto either? Gaara asked Sasuke. Sasuke shook his head. Why not? Isn't Naruto like me? In a way Naruto is like you, Sakura answered, but Naruto uses his power to defend us as well as himself. Mother doesn't defend others, Gaara said seriously. He still didn't understand. Gaara, Shikaku isn't your mother, Naruto told the redhead. Shikaku only protects you because he wants to protect himself. Pain filled Gaara's head and the boy cried out, clutching his head, No! You're wrong! Mother loves me! Gaara, Naruto frowned, get a hold of yourself. You decide what your power does and, Naruto dodged a spike of sand. Gaara. No! No! Don't hurt Naruto, mother, please! Gaara fell to his knees screaming, garnering the attention of the Chunin and Jounin in the room. They didn't act, only watched. Gaara was dangerous and they wanted nothing to do with getting between him and those who made him angry. Scowling fiercely, Sakura stepped towards Gaara only to be stopped by the sand shield. She hit it once, her fist glowing a malevolent dark green instead of the usual healing green. The sand collapsed under her single assault, and she slapped Gaara across the face. Gaara fell back, looking up at her in shock. How did that hurt? He complained, stunned that she'd hit him. Stop being a baby. Oh, the irony of a 6-year-old saying that to another 6-year-old. Naruto had a hard time not laughing. Just because Shikaku isn't your mother doesn't mean your mother didn't love you. Shikaku, Naruto growled warningly at the gathering sand, stand down. You're not a match for me or my companions and you know it. We aren't going to hurt the sacrifice. Mother hates you, Gaara whispered, staring at Naruto. Shikaku can hate me all at once. It still can't hurt me. I hold the fox. The sand trickled across the floor, weaving back and forth like water in front of Gaara. Naruto knelt down by Gaara, ignoring the agitated sand, and pulled Gaara into a hug. He petted Gaara's soft red hair and smiled as he whispered to his fellow sacrifice, Shikaku doesn't love you. That's okay, Kyuubi doesn't love me. Even if no one else loves you, I always will. You are my brother by circumstance. We were sacrificed to save people. Your father made you into a weapon to help protect Suna, just as my father sacrificed his son to protect Konoha. Gaara held on tight to the blonde and couldn't help but cry. He couldn't ever remember anyone hugging him before, even Yashimaru. It felt nice. It was something that he'd never forget. Chapter 8, Chunin. You made Chunin. Iruka rushed forward and threw Naruto up in excitement, catching him and twirling around with Naruto in his arms. Congratulations. Ah, come on, Ka-sensei. Naruto laughed into Iruka's hair, holding tight to his neck. You knew that I'd make it. Iruka twirled around again and started walking away from the group with Naruto in his arms, babbling a mile a minute at his son. Kakashi shook his head, watching as they left, and turned to Itachi. Sasuke-chan did well. All three of them were promoted. Sasuke grabbed tight to Itachi's hakama and looked up at him with wide eyes. I passed, Nitama. I am proud, Oturo. Itachi smiled down at his little brother and leaned down to pick him up, setting the boy on his shoulders. I had no doubts. Sakura had 4 points more than me. Sasuke petted Itachi's hair, playing absent-mindedly with the dark strands under his fingers. She had a better strategy for her final match. Who did she fight? It wasn't a surprise to Sasuke that no one from the Uchiha clan had gone to the exhibition matches in the final round of the exam. Suna didn't let other villages send ninja to watch the exhibition matches. The only people Suna was interested in showing off to was their daimyo and potential customers. Me, Sasuke grimaced. I won, but she fought well. Her immense strength is a challenge to overcome, as is her excessive brilliance, but I am faster than her. Her strength does not matter when she cannot hit her opponent. I had to resort to overwhelming her with attacks so that she could not focus on me personally. Nicely done. Itachi nodded to Kakashi and turned to start on his way back to the Uchiha compound. Wait, Sasuke tapped his older brother on the forehead and twisted around to look at his pink-headed teammate. Sakura-chan, you'll be okay getting home? Sakura waved a hand at Sasuke's question. I'll be fine. Kaka-sensei is here to walk with me. Sakura's parents hadn't been pleased when they'd been told that Sakura had been nominated for the exams. They'd been less pleased when they'd found out that she'd be traveling to Suna for a month and a half to compete. The Harunos loved their daughter, and knew how hard life was for ninja, and they sometimes couldn't deal with their 6-year-old killer daughter. Not that they knew for sure that she'd killed people, but again, they knew of ninja life. No matter how much they wanted to encourage their daughter, they still couldn't take a day from work just to meet her at the gates for her return. They just weren't that wealthy. Sasuke frowned but didn't disagree with Sakura. Be safe. I'll see you tomorrow, Sasuke-kun. Sakura waved her friend and his brother off. She cocked her head to the side thoughtfully and watched until she couldn't see Sasuke anymore. Kaka-sensei? Kakashi looked up from his book. Yes? If you wouldn't mind? Ma, not at all. Kakashi put the violently orange book into his weapons pouch and with a grin curving his eye up, not quite hiding his mischievousness, he scooped the girl up and settled her on his shoulders like Itachi had done with Sasuke. There was a screech of childish laughter as the duo leapt onto the closest roof and bounded off in the direction of the Haruno's small house. Breathless, Sakura calmed her laughter, bemused at her sensei's actions. Kakashi had never been this carefree last time. She wondered idly about the reason as to why he'd grown so cold between the ages of 19 and 25. Before she could come up with a theory, Kakashi landed on the ground right outside her door. "Thank you, Kaka-sensei." She let go of her stranglehold on Kakashi's white hair, and he gently let her down. "No problem, Sakura-chan." Kakashi chuckled and rubbed the back of his head, pretending to fix his perpetually messy hair, just a little embarrassed by his own childish behavior. Watching Kakashi be unsure for the very first time in years, Sakura smiled and lunged at him, hugging him tightly around the waist. Kakashi patted her head self-consciously, unsure of why his tiny student was hugging him like she'd never see him again. She let go of him with a high-pitched giggle and backed away. "Thank you, Ma." Kakashi paused and looked between Sakura and the house. Are you going to be okay?" Sakura scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Please, I'm a Chunin, Kaka-sensei." I know. Kakashi didn't know. He was there when she'd been granted her Chunin vest, but it made him ill at ease to know that such a young child would be alone for hours before her parents got home from their work. He trailed off. Sakura smiled warmly. "You're worried. Thank you for caring." Kakashi had always cared, even before the team of three had stumbled into the past, but he was actually showing it now, which was a nice change to see. "I'll always care, Sakura-chan." Kakashi gestured to the door. "Would you like me to keep you company?" Sasuke had his whole clan, and Naruto now had Irika to shower them with attention and love. It didn't feel right that the only girl on the team had to go home to a cold house and wait for hours for someone to notice her accomplishments. Sakura blinked, startled by her sensei. Sure, if you want, Kaka-sensei." She led the jounin into the house. This was new for her, the concern that Kakashi was showing. "You don't have to stay if you don't want to, Kaka-sensei," she insisted as she took him to the living room. Kakashi shrugged one shoulder and sat on the least comfortable-looking chair in the room. Considering that all three chairs in the room were padded to twice the size of a normal chair, it was still too soft in his mind or for his comfort. Sakura sank to her knees at the kotatsu. There was an awkward silence and Sakura sighed. "Would you like some tea, Kaka-sensei?" "Yes," Kakashi exclaimed, happy that there was no more silence. He coughed into his hand. Yes, that would be nice." "Do you drink your tea black, Kaka-sensei?" Sakura asked as she clambered up the side of the kitchen shelves to take down the teapot. "Or do you like cream and sugar?" Older Kakashi enjoyed a spot of sugar in his tea and occasionally indulged in a dollop of cream. She wasn't sure if his tastes had changed over 6 years. "One sugar, please." Kakashi followed Sakura to the kitchen for lack of anything else to do. "So what do you usually do when I dismiss you from training?" "Oh, I stop by the academy and tutor some of the students. I have 3 regular students and a class on Saturday." "A class?" Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, Irika-sensei doesn't mind hanging out on Saturdays to watch over my class because he's always got marking to do. I mostly help the students with their control." Sakura absently set the sugar down next to the tea she'd poured for her sensei and poured her own cup of tea. "Irika-sensei asked if I wanted to become a teacher and I haven't answered him yet, but I don't think I want to teach." "And why is that?" Kakashi was genuinely curious. If his student already had students of her own, he didn't see any reason why she wouldn't go for a teaching position now that she was a chunin. The scathing look she pinned him with surprised him. "Kaka-sensei, I am almost 7 years old. Do you really think that 12-year-olds want to learn from a 7-year-old? Let a 7-year-old have the power of a teacher over them? No," she concluded, "they would revolt and I would have to use some kind of mass effect jutsu on them, and then I'd get reprimanded, and it would just be all bad." Sakura gave a little laugh. "It's not like I don't have other things to do. I mean, on Sundays I usually help out at the hospital and get a little tutoring here and there from the medics." "I knew you spent part of your weekend at the hospitals." Kakashi dumped a spoonful of sugar into his cup and absently stirred it, resting his chin in his palm, propping himself up with the table. "How much have you learned?" "Enough that the medics are very enthusiastic when I come by after missions to give a hand for an hour." Sakura shrugged nonchalantly. "I just have a knack for control, I think." "Have you been training with genjutsu on the side as well?" Sakura ducked her head as a light blush spread over her cheeks, embarrassed that her sensei had caught her neglecting a talent that she professed to like. "No, I may have let that fall to the wayside while I was focusing on the medical part of my training. I know an up-and-coming genjutsu specialist. Kakashi wasn't a genjutsu specialist. If anything, he was a ninjutsu specialist who knew a few illusions that he'd gotten by copying opponents. He could train Sakura in genjutsu, but not as well as someone who was deep into that area of ninja study. Sakura looked up, interest written on her face. Really? Kakashi nodded and Sakura smiled brightly. That would be great, Kaka-sensei. Thank you? You're always thanking me, Kakashi murmured, when I haven't really done anything at all. You've done more than you think, Sakura murmured back before they both fell silent. This time their silence was a comfortable one. Chapter 9: Arrangements and Arguments. No. Sasuke. No. I refuse. Fugaku Uchiha rubbed his forehead in irritation. Sasuke, it's... I refuse. Sasuke sniffed indifferently. Political or not, I am not going to. Mikoto knelt down beside her son who was sitting calmly on his bed. Sasuke, this is just the way it is done. What about Itachi? He is the heir. And he will marry an Uchiha because of that. You, on the other hand, Fugaku tried to keep his composure when Sasuke interrupted him again. I am the spare, I know. I am only good for a political marriage. However, I am far too obstinate to be forced into an arranged marriage. Sasuke looked up at his father. I don't see how you would allow an Uchiha to marry a Hyuga anyway. The Hyuga are a highly placed clan. We need to secure a working relationship with them. No. Sasuke, Mikoto tried again, we love you. We are trying to do the best that we can for you. Sasuke's eyes widened and he stared at his mother incredulously. Are you seriously considering a marriage between the second son of the Uchiha's head family to a branch member of the Hyuga family to be the best you can do for me? It is not as bad as you think it is. Mother, do you know exactly what the caged bird seal incorporates? Mikoto and Fugaku felt themselves sharpen. No one outside of the Hyuga family knew what was included in the seal the branch members of the Hyuga wore. Do you? Fugaku asked tentatively. I do. Sasuke didn't elaborate. He felt no need to. If he could get his family wary of the seal, then they would either try to force an answer from the Hokage or from the Hyuga. The Hyuga wouldn't want to answer and Sasuke wasn't sure about the Hokage, but if his parents got wind of the fact that the seal could kill with a single hand sign, they would sure as hell drop their quest for an arranged marriage for him to the Hyuga. Standing up and looking down at his mother, Sasuke smiled softly at her and kissed her forehead. I'm going to meet Naruto and Sakura at Training Area 7. I should be home for supper. Leaving his parents standing in his room, Sasuke walked like a civilian instead of flickering like a ninja to the training area closest to the memorial stone. He needed the walk to get over his irrational anger. Naruto met him halfway to the training grounds and fell into step with him. Hey Sasuke. Naruto. Sasuke muttered under his breath. At the training ground they saw that Sakura had already started going through katas on the grass. Before Naruto can engage him in a taijutsu match, Sasuke sighed and sat heavily. Naruto rolled his eyes and sat beside him. Okay, Naruto complained, now what? My parents want to engage me to a Hyuga. Really? Naruto sounded curious and Sasuke glared at him. Sorry, Naruto raised his hands to ward off Sasuke's dark look. I know, I should be more indignant on your behalf. So other than the fact that it's a Hyuga, and I'm assuming a branch member because no way would Hayashi let you marry either of his daughters, what's the problem then? I never had an arranged marriage happen the first time, Sasuke scowled deeply. He can't think of a single reason that his life has changed so much that his parents are trying to arrange a marriage for him. In fact, he can think of more than one reason as to why they should be leaving him alone in that particular area. You got a marriage proposal? Sakura dropped down beside her two teammates, and Sasuke nodded, scowling even deeper. I got one, Sakura chimed. Got one what? Naruto asked confused. It took a moment, and then Naruto was practically raging with fury. Who the hell thought they would ever be good enough for my medic? Sakura punched Naruto in the shoulder gently, which still sent him flying back a good 3 feet. Come off it, Naruto, you know you don't have any say in my sex life. You don't have a sex life. Naruto cried out, "You're 6." 7, Sakura snapped back. "I just had my birthday, you idiot." "Oh, sorry, that makes such a big difference," Naruto sneered. Naruto wasn't very accomplished at sneering, but it was still rather effective as he had learned from the best, such as Neji, Gaara, and Sasuke himself. "Oh, just shut up, Naruto," Sakura shook her head, "and besides, it was in Nara." Naruto reared back, surprised. "Shika?" he asked incredulously. "You and Shika?" "No, you dipshit," Sakura crossed her arms, pissed off at her Hokage. "The Nara are a clan. Just because they approached me for a marriage contract doesn't mean that it's to Shika." She paused and bit her lower lip. "I'm not sure that I shouldn't accept it anyways." "What?" Naruto scuttled over to her, and was inside her personal space in less than a second. "What do you mean you aren't sure you shouldn't accept?" "Well," Sakura huffed, pushing Naruto out of her face, "it's not like any of us had any romantic ties when we came back. We aren't waiting around for someone to grow up so we can be with them, you know. If a good match comes along, I don't really see the point of dismissing it outright." "You are ours," Sasuke hissed, grabbing her elbow in a tight grip, eyes swirling into a red 6-point star. Sakura looked from Sasuke to Naruto, and saw red in his eyes as well. "You are ours and you aren't ever going to leave us." "I can leave you if I want," Sakura reminded her teammates gently. "Just because we're a team doesn't mean that you own me." "No one owns me." She glanced at Sasuke because he'd been the one of Team 7 to have been owned outright for 3 years. Naruto was owned by Konoha, but every ninja was, so it didn't bother him. Sasuke shook his head. "We don't own you, Sakura. I know that, and so does Naruto. But you are the one that made sure we didn't fall apart. Do you remember how fucking hard it was for me in Oto? You remember what happened after I was made to kill my brother? You remember what Naruto went through with Madara? You have always been our rock, Sakura. Throughout all of our pain and suffering you have been there. You have kept the watch. You have been the only one that cared no matter what." Sasuke bowed his head onto her shoulder. "We don't mean to keep you from being happy, but we still need time before we share you with others." Sakura pulled Sasuke into a hug and held her arm out for Naruto to join in, which he did without hesitation. Sasuke wasn't wrong. She had been the backbone that held the team together for so many years. In her excitement of being accepted into a ninja clan, she forgot that she already had a family. "Okay." Sakura finally let her brothers go and they sat close to her, Naruto practically sprawling over her lap and Sasuke curled around her back. "Okay, so I say no to any arrangements right now. I'll tell the Naras tomorrow that I can't accept. I am going to reserve the right to tell him to check again in a few years, okay guys?" She added the stipulation, and she didn't think it unfair. "Yeah," Naruto played with the hem of her shorts by her knee. "Okay, Sakura-chan." Sasuke ran his fingers through her bright pink hair. "You can tell them that we'll be watching too." "You guys are such idiots," Sakura complained lightly, patting Sasuke's knee that was resting by hers and fixing Naruto's bright orange collar. "But we're your idiots." Naruto rolled onto his back, up her lap a bit, and looked at her with big blue eyes, and Sakura almost melted. Naruto had the most devastating blue eyes in all the elemental countries. As Hokage, he'd been able to charm every other Kage that he met. It didn't hurt that they were the ones coming to him with hats in hand in the first place, so when he showed up all adorable and cute, they both hated how he made them look weak, and loved him for being himself. "Yeah," Sakura sighed, "you're my idiots." Sasuke stood up and stretched his arms above his head. "Are we done with the emotional bullshit then?" he asked petulantly, "because I'd like to train now. I have to figure out a way for Ka-san and Tu-san to find out about the caged bird seal." Fighting had always helped Sasuke empty his mind so he could think about things clearly. "Sure," Naruto leapt to his feet. "Stipulations?" "Taijutsu only. We need to build our physical strength." Sasuke bounded away using his natural speed. Naruto followed after him, throwing a handful of shuriken at the brunette. Sasuke dodged with ease and doubled back, managing to get a good hit in on Naruto's ribs. Naruto didn't even flinch as he took the hit and blocked the next 4. He retaliated quickly and Sasuke found himself on the defensive. The flurry of blows that Naruto unleashed were devastating whether they got through Sasuke's defense or not, so Sasuke had to start dodging to avoid gaining more damage than he had anticipated. Sakura stood at the edge of the boys' self-imposed fight boundaries, watching critically. She knew that neither boy was very good at limiting themselves even after years and years of fighting and needed to be ready for when one of them took it too far. Sasuke palmed some Saban behind his back, and the moment Naruto let a kick follow through too far, opening himself to an attack, Sasuke utilized the advantage and flung the Sendan in a spiral pattern at Naruto. Half of the thin needles Sasuke threw pierced various muscles, but Naruto didn't even pause as he continued his furious attack. Sasuke just needed to wait the boy out now. The field of battle was more even whenever Sasuke used Senban because he knew exactly where to place the deadly needles in order to slow the flow of Naruto's blood. With less blood moving throughout his body, Naruto would lose more and more of his unnatural stamina, and the advantage that came with it. If Sasuke managed to hit enough of the critical spots on Naruto, he could knock the older boy out, but that rarely happened. Even with his Sharingan activated, Naruto moved too fast for Sasuke to rely on the Senban hitting all the correct places. "Not today, Captain," Naruto grunted at Sasuke as he began another set of attacks. "Not this time," Naruto smirked. "This time it's my turn." Sasuke didn't move fast enough to escape. Naruto ended the attacks with a vicious kick, throwing Sasuke high into the air. At the peak of Sasuke's flight, Naruto appeared above him. "Saishin Fura Paw!" Naruto screamed, and with a powerful drop kick that emitted a blinding flash of light, Sasuke was forced back towards the ground. The ground cratered under the force of Sasuke's landing, and Naruto fell to his knees, breathing heavily. There was a groan from the middle of the crater, and Sakura peeked over the edge of the damaged, uprisen earth. "Sasuke?" she questioned. Sasuke groaned again and hauled himself upright, climbing out of the hole in the ground. "Damn you, Uzumaki." Naruto let out a chuckle that sounded much like a giggle. "There wasn't any reason for you to use Lee's springtime of youth, full power on me." Naruto chuckled again. "You said taijutsu only, Sasuke. You know who I always look to when taijutsu comes to mind." Naruto reached out a hand and pulled Sasuke to his feet. Yeah, Sasuke turned to Sakura. "I have, at the very least, 2 cracked ribs. If you would please?" Sakura grinned. "You guys need to remember that you're only training, not actually fighting." She stepped towards Sasuke. "You can pull out the Senban yourself, Naruto, they're where they usually are." Sakura reached out to Sasuke with a green glow to her hands, and Sasuke relaxed as the warm chakra cascaded over his chest. Naruto watched his medic heal his captain as he absently pulled the Senban from his body. They would never break their team up again. Never. That's it for part 1. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.